everyone, welcome back to the Book Cave with me, Jenny. So today I have my December wrap-up, and I do want to apologize as well for the kind of shifting qualities in video and audio. I've been playing around. I got a tripod to try to record on my phone, so yeah, I'm not sure how exactly that will work, but we will get through this together. And so I'm just going to jump right into the books. So Audible has a whole bunch of holiday romances, and I started out with this one booked for the holidays, and this was a pretty cute, sweet, and emotional story, and it follows Dove and Abby, who are the grandson of a famous cozy mystery writer and a woman who works at her editor's business. And they find out, unfortunately, that she has passed away, or I should say Abby finds that out, and Dove is trying to finish her book, and they have to try to finish it over the 2-week winter holidays. And I really love the fact that in this cozy mystery series there is a recipe in each one, and they're all the author's favorite Hanukkah treats, and so she included them in each of her stories, and Dove helps pay homage to her by trying to make them. And yeah, I just thought that that whole storyline there with how much he cared for his grandmother was very, very sweet. And then the epilogue, the way that comes full circle, was also absolutely adorable. And we have a little rescue dog, and yeah, this is definitely peak holiday / winter vibes, because there is also a lot of snow, so that kind of brings it into the winter as well. And yeah, like I said, there is a bunch of these, and they're all on the short side. I think this is one of the longer ones at like 3.5 hours. There's a bunch. Actually, there's a set of 5 that I'll be working on over the next couple days. The longest one is 2 hours. The shortest one is 1:15. So I'll definitely be continuing, because this one was definitely very cute, and I'm hoping that the others will be as well. All by My Elf was disappointing, to say the least. Although the premise was rather funny and interesting. There's 3 adjunct professors who need to make some extra money over Christmas, so they decide to drive around a mincemeat mobile that is a Wienermobile that's been repainted and redesigned. And they just kind of get into hijinks with that. And yeah, it could have been fun, but I just didn't really feel the chemistry between Nina and William. And yeah, that was my main issue with it. That, and you had them spend the night in this monstrosity. I mean, the way it happened, I do suppose that's believable. But yeah, it's definitely not one of my favorites. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. So Merriment and Mayhem is also part of the Under the Mistletoe collection. And this was, again, another short story. It was like an hour and a half on Audible. And this one is by Alexandria Bellefleurs. And I enjoyed her other 3 novels that I had listened to. So I went into this with some pretty high hopes. And I do have to say, this was definitely better than the last book I listened to in this series. It was a little over the top with some of the mishaps that happened. They just seemed a little over the top. I did, however, like the romance. I felt like the couple had a very fun dynamic, and despite the fact that this was a short story, it didn't feel super rushed. It was maybe a little bit, but that's kind of to be expected. And it was, it was fun and a sweet little holiday themed romance. And since these were so short, I was able to finish this one as well. Only Santa's in the Building. And yeah, I liked this one as well. And I did like the fact that our main character was a comic book illustrator. And it's one of those things that could come off as just a way to like make her quirky. But I felt like it was done well, and it wasn't, a super huge part. And again, I felt like the chemistry between the characters was well done in this one, and some of the jokes about like the Santa hat and such, I felt like were pretty well done. And again, they could have come off as cringe, but they didn't. So this may be an author that I look for some more books from. Merry Ever After is the second to last book in the Under the Mistletoe short stories from Audible that I'm listening to right now. And I have to say, I liked parts of it, but I disliked other parts. While I did think the way they met was okay, and while I did really like the whole thing of him being like, your son is a package deal with you, I completely understand that, and the way he so clearly cared. While I really liked all that, I just felt like at some points he came on way too strong compared to how he was in the rest of the book. And yes, this definitely isn't my favorite Tessa Bailey, and it's also one, it doesn't feel as Christmassy as some of the other ones. And I also felt like just the amount of spice in it, considering that it's supposed to be like a Christmas romance, to me those should be like more heartwarming and stuff. And yeah, this just didn't quite hit that. However, if you really like Tessa Bailey, you may like this. It was one that was just not really for me. So Cruel Winter with You is Ali Hazelwood's contribution to Under the Mistletoe. And I do have to say, this was one of the better ones. Pardon me. I did enjoy it, and I did feel like it had at least some holiday vibes to it, with the snowstorm. And yeah, well, it still isn't necessarily the greatest. It's still fun. if you want a short little read. And yeah, with that, I am now done this collection, and I think I might take a little break from Christmas romance stories and go on to some other short audiobooks before going back on to a few other Christmas audiobooks that I have. I listened to The Kitchen God's Wife by Amy Tan, and this is my first Amy Tan book. It was pretty good. I do feel like it was definitely like a series of events rather than a character study, but it did really explore like secrets and how they could bind and tear people apart. And I did get a little confused when it switched from Pearl to Winnie's point of view, but it became clear pretty quickly within like 3 or 4 sentences. But yeah, if you like historic fiction, I feel like you would like this because it does dive a little bit into the history, and it does kind of show the rights that women had, especially in China during like World War II and such. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting read, and I will be continuing on with the Joy Luck Club next. I finished the Joy Luck Club, and this strikes me as very, very similar to The Kitchen God's Wife, except the characters I felt were better balanced. We didn't really have any bad, evil characters, whereas I feel like in Kitchen God's Wife we did have some really bad characters. I do enjoy the writing, and I feel like it flows very well. And one thing I didn't realize about either of these books, Joy Luck and Kitchen God's Wife, the versions I found are actually both abridged. So it'd be interesting to try to find an unabridged edition or to read them at some point. And this one does as well strike me as very similar to Lisa C. with the way she interconnects all the women and the past and the present and mothers and daughters and so on. Although it is more of a snapshot, I feel, rather than focusing on the whole life of any character. Although with these both being abridged, I feel the same way about Kitchen God's Wife. Perhaps there is more of a life story in the actual unabridged work. So yeah, I definitely recommend this if you like historical fiction and a study on the bonds between women. The Moon Lady is the last book by Amy Tan that I plan to listen to this month at least, and this also ends my break from the Christmas stories that I was listening to before starting these. So this is a short story that was adapted from the Joy Luck Club, and I believe it is in print format a picture book, so I would like to see if maybe I can find it at the library to just kind of, see what the pictures look like and such. But this is a very sweet story, really, of a grandma and her granddaughters, and a rainy evening on which she tells them a story from her life as a young girl in China. And it was funny. I did enjoy it, and I could definitely see how it would entertain her grandchildren. And it is also about a relatively well-known Chinese myth. So, yeah, I thought overall it was a cute little story, and I did enjoy listening to this short little audiobook. Not Another Christmas Rom-Com was pretty cute. I did like it. It was predictable. I predicted just about everybody's secrets. Obviously, I didn't really predict Liam and Callum's parents' secret, although I did figure it had something to do with their home, and I was right about that much. And yeah, I thought the ending especially was very cute, the little epilogue. And this one definitely brought like the coming together for Christmas family vibes. And I really did like that. And although it did have some spice, like it's definitely an adult book, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like there was too much spice that it took away from the kind of like cute vibe. Although, I'll be quite honest, I could have done without the like two or three full on spice scenes that there were, and it wouldn't have bothered me at all. But yeah, if you're looking for a cute little rom com to listen to, you know, especially like in the winter, I can definitely recommend it. And yeah, like I said, it was just a fun, short little story. I finished The Christmas Party, which is one of the first thrillers I've read. I have read some political thrillers with Stuart Woods, but this was something rather different. And yeah, it definitely kept me guessing. I did not expect that ending at all. And this was also a very short listen. It was like 4.5 hours or so. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the dual timeline and how it really kept you guessing what happened and like where everything was going, just because it seemed like everybody could be a suspect and there were different little crumbs left, and then as they got cleared up you started to suspect, but then it was kind of like, why? And yeah, so I definitely enjoyed this thriller. It may be something that I wouldn't have enjoyed as much if I'd read more, because I maybe wouldn't have been surprised by the ending. But yeah, definitely worth looking into if you like thrillers or want to try a thriller. So, as you can see, I'm in the middle of quite a few books, but I'm actually here to talk to you about the final holiday romance that I listened to, and that is AJ Pine's book, How to Lose a Guy Before Christmas. And this was one that she published last year. And I did enjoy that we got to see Tinsel again, or I should say for the first time in that book, and that we got to see a more adult side, raucous side, that I felt like it was done in a fun way. It could have been very cringy, but I didn't feel like it was. So I did enjoy it and thought it was, a cute little rom com. I did not like the third act conflict at all. I felt like it was kind of unnecessary. I did, however, kind of like the coincidence that brought it to a close. I did think that was cute and well done. And like a lot of the other rom coms here, I recommend it if you're looking for a fun little Christmas rom-com, and just the same as with not just any Christmas rom-com or whatever the first one I listened to is called. There is a little bit of spice, but I feel like it didn't overpower the book in this one either. So yeah, if you check it out, I hope you enjoy it. I finished my year of rest and relaxation, and yeah, this was a book. I honestly really did not enjoy it. Like, I can deal with unlikable characters. I can deal with them all being unlikable if I feel like there's a point to that. However, with this, I didn't feel like there was a point to the characters being unlikable. I didn't really feel like Riva was all that unlikable. She just wasn't very well fleshed out. And that part didn't bother me because we're from her best friend's point of view, and her best friend is going through some stuff, and so, there's reasons that she wouldn't necessarily get all that much character building. But, like, all the other characters seem to be not the greatest. And I did find it interesting as well. This is yet another book where the main character is not given a name. And yeah, like, the idea behind it was interesting, and I feel like this book could have been redeemed a little bit, but the ending was just kind of like, okay, did anything actually change? I did think there was a lot of interesting quotes in the book, and it was also definitely a study of mental fatigue, mental illness, and needing like a reset. So that aspect of it I thought was okay, but overall it's just definitely not my favorite book, and I would have a hard time recommending it just because I don't really know whose cup of tea this would be. Yeah, if it's yours, I'd love to hear some thoughts from people who loved this and like how it worked for them. Maybe you all saw something I didn't. And yeah, I'd definitely love to hear about this or any of the other books that I read in this month. So I'm all caught up with the Rose Hill series now, since I finished Wild Eyes. I did like this more than Wild Love. I still only gave it 3 stars because it was just, I don't know, something about it didn't quite resonate with me. I did feel like it was a very good story though, and I enjoyed seeing Skylar and West open up to each other, learn about each other, and, kind of evolve and grow throughout the book. And yeah, definitely if you're an Elsie Silver fan, I feel like you'll love this series. And I did feel like this one did a lot more with the small town part and the single father part than Wild Love did. So yeah, I am enjoying this. I will more than likely be continuing on when the next book comes out. I finished one manga series this month, and that is The Haunted Bookstore, Gateway to a Parallel World. I thought this was okay. It was definitely more on the cozy side. There wasn't a whole lot of plot. It was just kind of going through their everyday life. So while it wasn't bad, it wasn't the best. I wound up giving it 3 stars because I did like the characters and I did like the relationships that were there, the friendships and the found family. I do wish we would have gotten a little more depth to the characters. But yeah, overall, this was a fun little series to read, and it is based on some light novels, so it'll definitely be interesting to see if I find those, how they compare. So that's everything I have for you today. As always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button and the subscribe button to be notified every time I post a new video. And I will have all my socials linked here at the end on the little card. And I will see you next time in the book cave.